Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 7. We are moving and grooving, shaking and grinding. Yeah, we'll stop there with the human sexuality jokes. Moving on. So, week 7 diagnosis. So for this week, we're doing feeding and eating disorders or disordered eating. We're also going to start to talk about treatment of comorbidity and other disorders. The reason we're putting them together is because often we think of just addiction with comorbidity, but we also need to think about disordered eating and comorbidity. Mostly because often we're seeing clients with disordered eating and anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, having to feeling like they have some control over something can actually like further the disordered eating. So this is what we're working on this week. The case study for this week is a little bit different. You've got the full shebang, the whole case study. And the reason I put the whole thing together is because this week I want us to sit down and like take a pause, look at the criteria, look at the actual diagnosis for the case, and then go back through the case and figure out what parts of the case affirm the actual diagnosis. So y'all have been doing an excellent job teasing out what the criteria is based on the case study. Now we're going to start to mix it up and be like, what is her criteria? What is the diagnosis? And what do we know about the case that either affirms or tells us we need more information? This week is our last week of psychedelic moral inquiry. So we started off with like, hey, this is the motherland. Natural medicine is the key to all greatness. This week, we're like, what are the morals? What are the ethics? How do we include it? Should we include it? What conversations should we be having? So please come ready to chat it out. All right. The week 7 readings will cover those 3 things. So I'm also like, heck yes to us staying on track and like getting stuff done. So give you a good pat on the back. We're again moving and grooving, grinding and shaking. I just can't today. So I'll laugh at my own jokes with my dog Kona. Okay, so that was it. That was it for week 7. Short and sweet, direct to the point. We're gonna jump into journal questions. So boom. It's good to see you up front and close and personal. So this week's journal question, you have a couple of them. So the first one is, how can I create a safe and supportive environment for clients to discuss their experiences with disordered eating without fear or judgment? And so we all have some experiences with disordered eating throughout our lives just because of how society views fatness, how society views bodies, how we think about the binary. So, just the binary of men and women, right? Which we know is like so wide, so vast, is not black and white, should probably not even be a binary, but it is. And because of that, we also assign certain disorders to certain folks. So, too often, I hear folks talking about how disordered eating is something that women experience or something that girls experience, right? We know the research tells us that men and boys also experience disordered eating as well. And so when we're thinking about how do I create a safe environment for a client to discuss their experiences with disordered eating without fear or judgment, it just starts there, right? So for me and my client work and for you as students, how do we make sure that in this conversation of disordered eating, we normalize food as just substance. Food is just food. There are not good foods, there are not bad foods, right? These are things that we need to sustain our lives and to move. Like if we are talking with athletes or people who want to achieve a certain composition for a sport or for a life in general, talking about the healthy ways to do that versus when we get into some like maladaptive disordered thought process around eating. And more than anything, it's making sure that I, as well as you and other folks, tamper down the narrative of he versus she versus they versus them, right? Like making it as normalized across all of it so that people can sit in their truth and have a real conversation about what food looks like in their lives and really come to some vulnerability of what it means for them to consume and like when and why, right? So like if they feel like they're over consuming, what feelings are coming up, what's sitting in your heart, what shows up for you, how is your nervous system, right? Like are you eating to calm your nervous system? Are you eating to cope? Are you eating because you're hungry? Like these are moments, extremely powerful moments where we can start to think about how do we move clients back into their somaticization of their bodies, right? So, like, how do they feel their bodies? Is it even safe? Right? Like, we don't talk enough about is it safe to feel your body? Is it safe to be in your body? We're always like, return, go back to your body without having a real conversation of what does it mean for you to sit in yourself in stillness? And then, like, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe in your body? So that's the first question. Um, the second question is, how do my personal beliefs and attitudes about body image and food impact my understanding of disordered eating in clients? All right. There are a few disorders across the board that we've talked about where we have some personal connection, right? So I know some of you have family members who've experienced bipolar disorder. Some of you have experiences with anxiety or depression. Some of you are just finding out that you have adult ADHD, right? Like we have done such a better job in our profession, in our work, to tease out how disorders are showing up for clients, how disorders are showing up for us, and what does it mean for us to experience a diagnosis in a way that's like feels close to home. All right. Disordered eating exists in our entire society, right? It doesn't mean it has to be clinically diagnosed. All of us in our lives at one point or another have had moments where our eating has not been physically, medically normal, right? So like eating enough calories, like eating enough substance, getting enough solid protein, fats, and like veggies, fiber, right? So when we're thinking about disordered eating, rather than answering this question from I don't have anything wrong with me, I'm good to go. Okay, okay. Instead, thinking about what are my family values? How has disordered eating shown up in my family and my relationships with my friends? Like, how has just even body image, right? Like, how has my being, my positionality either been affirmed or been criticized for how my body looks, how I'm moving through the world, what I'm eating, either from our parents or our friends, people in our family, or even our coworkers and peers, right? And then from there, thinking about how do you address the inner voice that may not currently be your own? Like, how do we silence the critics, the nonsense, the misinformation and disinformation around disordered eating and what it looks like for us personally to experience that one thing. As someone who grew up in sports, like from figure skating to ice hockey to cheerleading, soccer, weightlifting, like I have been in so many different sports. I have had as many conversations about my food intake, my eating, my body in figure skating and cheerleading as I have had in weightlifting, because weightlifting has weight categories, right? And so even if you're not trying to change your weight category or you just don't even care, the amount of comments I got from people on like my weight because of my weight category is just like part of the sport, for better or worse, right? And so how do we tease out our own experiences? How do we make sure that we are actually able to feel our own somatization in our bodies, are we able to return to ourselves? Do we feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable in your body enough to talk about how others, our clients, our colleagues, our friends, how other folks return to their bodies in a safe way? Um, and really, right, like again, how do I practice what I preach? How do I feel okay in my own body? How do I nourish my body in a way that's healthy? How do I support community through marrying healthy habits around body image, but especially around eating? Um, and food, right? Like, how do I make sure that I'm not passing on these toxic ideas I have about food to younger generations just by nature of not working on the wounds, not working on the things that were taught to me that I know do not serve my highest good. Oh, yes, let's do that again. How do I work on myself in a way that keeps me from passing on the narratives that do not serve my highest good or the highest good of others? All right, Dr. D, let's go. Okay, so consideration, last but not least, reflect on your own experiences and biases related to body image and nutrition. We kind of talked about that already. And then really thinking about how might these influence your approach to counseling clients with disordered eating behaviors, right? So if we are in 2025, we're changing our perspectives. We're moving away from a very westernized approach. And we're talking about what does it mean to practice community care from a lens of community growth and development. How do we lean in to our community practices while also supporting narratives? Again, how do we lean into community practices while supporting narratives that support our highest good? God, don't you just love this work? Don't you just love this work? Or okay, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. It's fine. Yeah. So that's week 7. I again am having a blast. I hope you're having a good time as well. I'm so excited to continue these conversations and keep up the amazing, amazing good work. I will see you on Thursday.